When I discovered on a sweltering Houston construction site, where a stranger in a Skyline logo shirt lurked near my shed, that my boss, Randy, and my former friend Jake, who stole my wife, were framing me for stealing a generator that vanished like it was swallowed by the site itself to sabotage my shot at a foreman job for my daughter Ellie. I vowed they'd pay dearly for a betrayal deeper than I could yet fathom. Dust stung my eyes. Cranes howled above. The Texas heat squeezed my lungs. My name's Marcus Tate, 34, just a laborer, humming Johnny Cash to get through the day. I'm fighting to keep my 6-year-old daughter, Ellie, in school after Lila, my ex, left me for Jake 3 years back. That betrayal gutted me. It left me in a rundown apartment, counting every penny. My $32,000 a year barely covers Ellie's books and our groceries. I never finished high school, but I'm not giving up. Construction, with its 7.7 million workers across America, is my shot to build something real for Ellie. This site on Westheimer Road, throwing up luxury condos, is where I'm making my stand. Every brick I haul, every nail I drive, is a step toward a bigger dream. Randy, our crew chief, ran the place like he owned our souls. At 42, his smile was all teeth, but his eyes were cold, ready to bury anyone who stepped out of line. He led our 30-man crew, deciding who got extra hours or a shot at promotion. Then there was Jake, Lila's new husband, working right beside me. His smirk was a blade, twisting every time he passed. We used to share beers, talk about life, but now he was a stranger who'd stolen my family. That Monday, the world came crashing down. A client stormed in, face red, shouting that a custom generator, serial G472, worth $5,000, had vanished from my shed. That generator wasn't just equipment. I'd spent nights fixing it for Ellie's school fundraiser, pouring my heart into every bolt. It was my pride, logged under my name. I tore through the shed, kicked over crates, checked every corner of the lot. Nothing. Randy swooped in, his voice low and sharp. Marcus, you really messed this up. Corporate's got their eyes on you now, and they don't like what they see. He winked at Jake, quick but clear. Jake's phone buzzed, and I caught Lila's voice, sharp and loud, before he turned away. My stomach knotted. I checked the security log, the one I'd signed off on, completely wiped. This wasn't some mix-up, with 49% of construction workers facing bullying. I knew I was being played. Later that day, Randy gathered the crew under the midday sun, his voice cutting through the noise. We've got a foreman position opening up. $50,000 a year, steady hours, a real step up. My heart pounded. That kind of money could mean a proper home for Ellie. Maybe even those rodeo trips she dreamed about. After the meeting, Randy pulled me aside, his hand heavy on my shoulder. Marcus, you're my top pick. Show me you've got what it takes, and it's yours. His words lit a fire in me. I was ready to outwork everyone, to prove I could do this. I found Jake by the water cooler, testing the waters. I'm going for foreman, I said, watching his face. He leaned in, his voice dripping with venom. You think you've got a shot, Marcus? You're dreaming too big, and it's gonna hurt when you fall. His words hit like a punch, echoing Lila's betrayal. Construction's a tough world, with 29% of us tangled in daily conflicts. That night, under Houston's glowing skyline, I stood by my truck, the sights hum in my ears. Randy's wink, Jake's sneer, Lila's voice on that call. They all pointed to something bigger. I wasn't just fighting for a job. I was fighting for my life, and I'd make them answer for it. That night on the Houston construction site, with Randy's wink and Jake's sneer burning in my mind, I made a promise to myself. No way was I letting that generator frame-up stick. I was fighting for my daughter, Ellie, and that $50,000 foreman job was her future. I wasn't going down without a war. The Westheimer site was a beast, all concrete dust and steel clanging under the Texas sun. I showed up at dawn, my boots crunching gravel, ready to outwork everyone. I hauled concrete bags, my shoulders screaming, and checked every tool in the shed, making sure nothing else disappeared on my watch. I even took time to show the new guys how to tie rebar knots, hoping to build some trust. Construction's a grind, with 7.7 million of us across America, scrapping for a shot at something better. But the air on this site was turning poison. Jake, now married to my ex-wife Lila, wouldn't look me in the eye. He'd shuffle past, his phone buzzing with texts, his face tight like he was hiding something. One morning, I overheard him muttering to a laborer about late rent, his voice low and desperate. He caught me listening and snapped his head away, pretending to check a blueprint. I wasn't buying it. His guilt was written all over him. Randy, our crew chief, was playing a different game. In front of the crew, he'd slap my back, his voice loud and warm. Marcus is the guy to beat for foreman, he'd say, grinning like we were old pals. But when we were alone, stacking lumber in the yard, his eyes narrowed, his voice dripping with scorn. Dreaming of foreman, Marcus? You'll crash before you climb, and it's gonna hurt. His words were a warning, sharp as a blade. I saw through his act. He wasn't rooting for me. He was setting me up to fall. One evening, as the sun bled orange over Houston's skyline, I was moving plywood when I caught two laborers talking by the cement mixer. Their voices were low, barely audible over the site's hum. Randy's already picked Jake for foreman, one said, glancing around. He's got some deal cooking with Skyline, and Jake's in on it. My pulse hammered in my ears. Skyline was our client, the big shot developer behind these condos. But they also ran rival sites across town. What kind of deal? With 29% of construction fights coming from backstabbing lies, I knew I needed hard proof. I tracked down Luis, the 55-year-old welder who'd been on sites longer than I'd been alive. His hands were rough as leather, his eyes sharp enough to cut through any lie. We sat on a stack of beams, sipping bitter coffee from thermoses, the night air thick with sweat and lies. Randy's rotten, Luis said, his voice low, staring as Randy crossed the lot. He's screwed over good men before, and Jake's just his lapdog. I've been watching them. Marcus, recording what I can on my old phone. His words landed heavy. 49% of us deal with bullying every day, and Luis had seen it all. He leaned closer, his voice dropping. Be careful. Randy's not just playing for foreman. He's playing for something bigger. I nodded, my jaw tight. Luis's warning was a lifeline, but it also meant I was in deeper than I thought. The next day, things got uglier. A $200 cordless drill went missing from my truck, and Randy was quick to point the finger. He called me to the trailer, his grin cold as ice. Marcus, you're getting sloppy. Another screw-up like this, and you're out of a job. My blood boiled, but I pulled out my logbook, showing I'd checked the drill in the night before. He backed off, muttering, but his eyes said he wasn't done. I started watching closer. Later that week, I caught Jake lingering near my truck, his hands fidgeting with something in his toolbox. I called him out, my voice steady but hard. What are you doing, Jake? Messing with my gear again? He laughed, too loud, his eyes darting. Chill out, Marcus. You're losing it. His laugh was hollow, his lie screaming. I wasn't imagining this. I got smarter, started snapping photos of my tools every night, time-stamped, locked in my phone. I kept detailed logs, every move I made, every piece of equipment I touched. I wasn't letting them pin another theft on me. Construction's a brutal game, and 75% of guys who speak up get crushed. I had to play this right. One night while sorting gear under the floodlights, I decided to set a trap. I created a fake inventory entry for a $1,000 table saw, listing it under my name, stored in a lockbox only Randy and Jake could access. I took pictures of the empty box, locked it tight, and waited. If they tried to frame me again, I'd catch them red-handed. The site was quiet that night, just the hum of distant cranes. I was alone, checking the lockbox, when I found a crumpled note tucked under a toolbox in the trailer. It was Jake's handwriting, sloppy but clear. Randy, 1 a.m. Confirm Jake for foreman. My hands shook. Was Jake, the man who'd stolen Lila, and now my trust, about to take everything I'd worked for? The crew was starting to turn on me. I saw it in their glares, heard it in their whispers. Someone had scratched snitch into my truck's door. The letters jagged and deep. It stung, but I wasn't backing down. I needed to know what Randy and Jake were planning. One evening, I hid behind a stack of plywood near the site office, my heart pounding. The moon was high, casting shadows across the lot. At 11 p.m., Jake slipped into the trailer, his steps quick. Randy followed, his voice low but caring. Skyline's ready to move. Jake, you're in, but we need Marcus out. My breath caught. I leaned closer, straining to hear. On Randy's desk, lit by a desk lamp, was a folder labeled Skyline Deal. Skyline wasn't just our client, they were a rival. And that folder was trouble. I wanted to bust in, grab it, but I held back. I needed more than a hunch. The stakes were higher than I'd imagined, and I was one step from uncovering their whole game. That night, under Houston's endless stars, I felt the weight of it all. Ellie's smile, her dreams, my crew's trust. Everything was on the line. Something was coming, something bigger than a stolen generator, and I was ready to face it. The trap I'd set on that Houston construction site was about to snap shut. I'd caught Jake's lie in my fake inventory, and Randy's late-night talk of a Skyline deal was ringing in my ears. This wasn't just about a stolen generator anymore. It was about my daughter, Ellie, and the $50,000 foreman job that could change her life. I was done being played. The Westheimer site felt heavier now, the air thick with sweat and lies. My fake entry for that $1,000 table saw had worked. At 2 a.m., the inventory log showed a change. Pinning the missing saw on me, Jake's login was all over it. The man who'd stolen my wife, Lila, was trying to bury me. I found him at dawn, leaning against his truck, the Texas heat already rising. I didn't waste words. Jake, I've got you, I said, my voice low and hard. You logged that saw as stolen, under my name. Why are you coming for me? His face went pale, his eyes wet with panic. He stepped back, hands shaking, and his voice cracked. Marcus, it wasn't my idea. Randy's got me backed into a corner, and Lila, she's pushing me to do it. She says you don't deserve Ellie, and I need that foreman job to keep her happy. His words hit like a sledgehammer. Lila, my ex, wasn't just a ghost from my past. She was pulling the strings, driving this knife deeper. 29% of construction workers know betrayal's sting. But this was personal. I wanted to grab him, shake the truth out. But that Skyline deal folder I'd seen on Randy's desk kept me focused. There was more to this, something bigger. Luis, the old welder with eyes like steel, had slipped me a site login the day before. He'd been tailing Randy for weeks, using an old phone to record whatever he could. Randy's dirty, Luis had said, his voice grim. You want the truth? Check his files. That night, I sat in my cramped apartment, Ellie's crayon drawing of us taped above my desk. Her smile gave me strength. I logged into Randy's account, my heart pounding like a jackhammer. What I found tore my world apart. Randy was selling our project bids to Skyline, our client turned rival. He wanted $10,000 for a boat loan. He needed the cash, and he was willing to tank our site, our jobs, everything. He'd promised Jake the foreman job to keep him quiet, calling me a problem that needs fixing. I scrolled further, my hands trembling. Then I saw it, an email from Lila, forwarded by Jake. Make sure Marcus fails, she wrote. He's got no right to Ellie or anything else. My ex-wife's words burned through me. I remembered her smile when Ellie was born, A fleeting moment of joy now turned to ash. She hated me enough to destroy my life, to take away the one thing that mattered most. My vision blurred, the pain raw and sharp. I gripped the desk, fighting to breathe. Randy's final email to Skyline was the worst. "I'll bring my crew when I jump ship," he wrote. "Jake's on board, and Marcus will be gone." They were planning to defect, to sell out our entire team, with Jake and Lila's help. I leaned back, the hum of my laptop filling the silence. Reporting this could end me. Construction's a brutal world, and 25% of complaints like this get swept under the rug. Ellie's school bills were piling up, her little backpack worn thin. That $50,000 job was our lifeline. If I stayed quiet, I might still have a chance. I could play along, keep my head down, and hope Randy's promise to make me foreman held. But every time I closed my eyes, I saw Ellie's drawing, her trust in me. Staying silent meant betraying her, Luis, the rookies, and every guy on that site who deserved better. I thought of Luis's warning, his scarred hands, his years of fighting men like Randy. I thought of the crew, their glares, the words snitch into my shed. They didn't know the truth, but they would. At 3 a.m., with the city asleep, I made my choice. I gathered every email, Lila's venom, Jake's fake inventory log, my lockbox photos, and sent them to HR in an anonymous file. My finger froze, my chest tight. I hit it, and the laptop hummed, sealing my fate. The foreman announcement was hours away, set for noon. I stared at Ellie's drawing, her stick figure smile anchoring me. I'd done enough, but the cost was coming. Construction's a game of trust, and 61% of us get burned. I wasn't sure if HR would act, or if my evidence would hold. Randy was grinning. Jake was desperate, and Lila's hate ran deep. Skyline's shadow loomed over it all, their deal a shadow that wasn't done. I stood up, my apartment dark except for the screen's glow. The site was waiting, and so was the truth. I'd caught their game, but it wasn't over. Something told me the real fight was just starting, and I was walking into it. The Houston construction site was a powder keg, and noon was about to light the fuse. I'd sent those damning emails to HR at 3 a.m., exposing Randy's Skyline scheme, Jake's frame-up, and Lila's venom. My phone was heavy with proof, and my heart was heavier with the stakes. Ellie's future, that $50,000 foreman job, my crew's trust, it was all on the line. I wasn't sure if HR would act, but I was ready to face the fire. The Westheimer lot buzzed with tension, cranes groaning, hammers pounding through the Texas haze. Workers clustered near the trailer, their faces tight, sensing something big. I stood among them, my boots planted firm, my phone gripped tight. Randy stepped out, his usual grin faltering, his eyes darting like a cornered animal. He cleared his throat, his voice unsteady. "All right, everyone, we're naming the new foreman today. Jake's earned it, and he's taking the job." The crew erupted in cheers, but my stomach dropped. Jake, the man who'd stolen Lila and tried to ruin me, was about to take my daughter's future. I saw Ellie's smile in my mind, her crayon drawing taped above my desk. No way was I letting this stand. I pushed through the crowd, my voice cutting through the noise like steel. "Hold it. Randy, you, Jake, and Lila are finished, and I've got the proof to bury you." The site fell silent, every eye on me. Randy's face froze, his jaw tight. Jake, standing nearby, went pale, his hands shaking. I pulled out my phone and plugged it into the trailer's projector, my fingers steady despite the adrenaline. The screen lit up, and there it was. Randy's emails to Skyline, selling our bids for $10,000 to fund his boat loan. Jake's fake inventory log, framing me for stealing a $1,000 saw. And then Lila's email, forwarded by Jake, her words like poison. "Make sure Marcus fails. He's got no right to Ellie or anything else." The crew gasped, a shovel clattering to the dirt, a wrench hitting concrete. The truth was out, raw and unforgiving. Jake stumbled forward, his face crumbling, his voice a broken whisper. "Marcus, I swear, Randy forced my hand." Lila kept pushing, saying we had to take you down, or we'd lose everything. His eyes were red, tears streaking through the dust on his face. I stared at him, the man who'd been my friend, now a stranger begging for mercy. Randy roared, his face purple, veins bulging. "Nice try, Marcus, but your little show won't save you. These emails are fake, and you're finished." His voice cracked, his panic laid bare. I didn't flinch. I turned to Luis, the welder who'd been my lifeline. He stood tall, his scarred hands steady, his eyes burning with years of bottled-up anger. "Luis, show them," I said, my voice calm but firm. Luis stepped up, his voice like thunder rolling over the site. "Randy tried to frame me 5 years ago, cost me a promotion, and I've been watching him ever since. I got this on my phone, and it's real." He played a recording, and Randy's voice filled the air, smug and clear. "Skyline's my ticket out, Jake's with me, and Marcus is done." The crew reeled, murmurs rippling through them. Lila's shadow hung heavy, her hate exposed for all to see. Construction's toxicity cost companies billions, and we were living proof. I heard cars pull up, tires crunching gravel, and the gate creaked open as a group of execs stormed in, their suits out of place among the hard hats. Their faces were stone, their steps quick. My email had hit their inboxes at dawn, and they'd seen everything. Randy's eyes widened, his voice desperate. "This is a mistake. I can explain. Just give me a chance." I tapped my phone, replaying Luis's recording, Randy's words damning him again. The lead exec, a tall man with a voice like gravel, cut through the chaos. "Randy, when you're fired, effective now. Jake, you're suspended, pending investigation. Get off this site." Two security guards grabbed Randy, dragging him toward the gate as he shouted, his voice fading into the dust. Jake stood frozen, his shoulders slumped, the crew's eyes boring into him. He turned to me, his voice barely audible, tears falling freely now. "Marcus, I'm sorry. I let Lila and Randy pull me into this, and I broke everything we had." I looked at him, my chest tight with old wounds. Before I could speak, a voice called out from the crowd. It was Lila, summoned by HR, standing at the edge of the site. Her face was pale, her eyes hollow, her voice trembling. "Marcus, I was wrong," she said, choking on the words. "I let my anger destroy you, and I'm so sorry." The crew watched, silent, as Jake and Lila's apologies hung in the air, raw and public. Their shame was a weight I hadn't expected, heavier than my anger. I nodded, my throat tight, letting their words sink in. I'd fought for Ellie, for justice, and I'd won. The exec turned to me, his voice steady. "Marcus, you're the new foreman. Take charge and show us what you can do." The crew exploded, fists raised, a young laborer letting out a whoop that echoed across the site. I stood there, the weight of the moment crashing over me. The $50,000 job was mine, Ellie's future secure. But as the cheers faded, I felt the scars of Jake's tears, Lila's regret, and Randy's betrayal. I'd exposed their game, but the cost was real. Skyline's name lingered in the air, their deal a shadow that hadn't fully lifted. I glanced at the trailer, where that folder still sat, and knew this wasn't the end. The site was mine now, but a new battle was waiting, and I'd have to face it head on. I stood on that Houston construction site, the new foreman, with the weight of victory and scars pressing down on me. The cheers from the crew still echoed, but the silence left by Randy's firing, Jake's tears, and Lila's broken apology was louder. I'd fought for my daughter, Ellie, and won the $50,000 job, but the battle had changed me. The Westheimer site was mine now, its cranes and concrete my responsibility, Trust was cracked, like old beams under strain. Randy was gone, hauled off in disgrace, his name poison across every job site in Houston. Jake quit the next day, his reputation shattered, unable to face the crew's glares. Lila left him, her own lies catching up, her regret a shadow she couldn't outrun. Their downfall was justice, but it didn't erase the pain. Construction's betrayals cost companies billions, and I'd seen it tear lives apart. That $50,000 paycheck was a lifeline. It meant bedtime stories with Ellie, her giggle brighter than Houston's neon skyline. We planned rodeo trips, her eyes wide at the thought of cowboys and bright lights. That was my heart, my reason for every fight. The money cleared her school bills, replaced her worn-out backpack, and gave us a shot at a real home. But the site needed more than my grit. I walked the lot each morning, my boots kicking up dust, a thermos of black coffee in hand, and saw the crew's guarded eyes. They'd been burned too, by Randy's games and Jake's deceit. I posted new rules on the trailer door, written in Sharpie on a sheet of plywood. No lies, no setups, no snakes. I fought for better safety gear, cutting corners that fueled the bullying 49% of us faced. Replacing Randy wasn't cheap, costing 30% of his old pay, but it was worth every penny to rebuild trust. I backed my crew, listened to their gripes, and made sure every man knew his work mattered. Under the Texas sun, I felt the stakes clearer than ever. Construction's a war, with 29% of fights born from dishonesty. I thought about Jake, our late-night talks over beers, now just ash in my memory. He'd mailed me a letter, his handwriting shaky, begging for forgiveness. "Marcus, I lost myself," he wrote. "I don't expect you to care, but I'm sorry." I sat at my kitchen table, Ellie asleep in the next room, and wrote back, "You're forgiven, Jake, but stay out of my life." My words were cold, but they closed a wound. Construction breaks 61% of us with trust, but it forged me stronger. Luis, the welder who'd saved me, retired a month later. We shared a coffee on his last day, his grin wide as he toasted our win. "Randy's done, and you're running the show," he said, his voice warm. "That's enough for me." His pride stuck with me, a reminder of what we'd fought for. My changes rippled beyond our sight. Other crews in Houston started posting their own rules, demanding fairness. A year later, I was still foreman, the site's rhythm my own. Its hum of hammers and cranes was my pulse. Then Skyline came knocking, offering a manager job for $70,000 a year. The money was tempting, enough to buy Ellie new boots and a proper bed. But I'd found that Skyline deal folder in Randy's old desk, buried under papers. It detailed his plan to poach our crew, sabotage bids, and hand Skyline our contracts. I saw Ellie's smile in my mind and knew Skyline's game. They weren't offering a job. They were buying my silence. I turned them down, my voice steady. "Not interested," I told their rep over the phone. "This site's my home." A week later, a letter arrived, Skyline's logo stamped on it. No signature. "Walk away, Marcus, or your site's done." I read it twice, my jaw tight, knowing they'd underestimated me again. I stood at the site's edge, keys in hand, Houston's sky glowing orange at dawn. I wasn't the man Lila and Jake had broken. I'd fought for Ellie, my crew, and myself, and I'd won. Construction's 7.7 million workers are out there, chasing better lives. I flipped the script on betrayal, and you can too. If someone's tried to crush you, fight back. Your grit is stronger than their lies. I changed this site, but my story's not over. I'm still here, ready for whatever Skyline throws next. Who's tried to break you? Drop your story in the comments, and let's show them what fighting back means. Hit like if you're in. Subscribe if you've turned pain into power. Stay sharp, because the snakes are still out there. I Beat the Boss framed me for generator theft plot, a target of workplace bullying, and one for Ellie. This Reddit revenge stories fight exposed workplace bullying and secured justice. But Skyline's threat looms. I'm ready for the next revenge battle. Got a framed by boss story? Drop it below. Like, subscribe, and join our Revenge Reddit Stories Radio TTS crew for more. Stay tough. Snakes are everywhere.